Welcome to the I25 public meeting. This covers the corridor from Monument to C470 all the way through Castle Rock. That is part of the planning and environmental linkage. Hi, my name is Karen Rowe. I'm the Region 2 Transportation Director for the Colorado Department of Transportation. Region 2 covers 14 counties in southeast Colorado. So I cover El Paso County, that's Region 2. My Region 1 program engineer is here. She'll do the second half of the presentation. Region 1 covers Douglas County and to the north. So it's really a team effort and a cross-regional project. So we are here today to get your comments on both the planning and environmental linkage study from Monument all the way to C470, and we have stations around here, and we last had our meeting in the spring. And we're back again to talk about that study as well as the Advancing the Gap project. So if you want more detailed information, if you want to enter comments, we have the computers up here. We have people's available, and that'll be the forum to gather the comments and your questions directly. We will provide an update, and Carrie will get into more details on the PEL. And also we're excited because we have some construction money to move forward on an early action project is what it's called. And that'll be the GAP project from Monument to Castle Rock. So what happens next? Really, I-25 is a very important corridor, as most of you know who live here. It is connecting the two biggest cities in Colorado, Colorado Springs and Denver. It has a huge economic impact. It's critical to our national defense. It connects the military facilities here to the north. It's the only interstate within 500 miles that runs north and south. There has been a significant increase in traffic in the last 5 years. And so the highway, the interstate between Castle Rock and Colorado Springs has really hit capacity. Now there's an exponential increase in accidents when that happens. And so in 2011, the traffic flowed pretty well and was not nearly as congested as it is today. There has been no delays. I mean, there's been no days in 2016 that didn't have a delay along that corridor. A project is critically needed. And so that you can count on your time to get from Colorado Springs to Denver. The travel reliability is terrible along those corridors. The safety is a huge issue, and we want to do something about it. So I'd like to hand it over to Carrie DiGiacomo. Again, she is Region 1 program engineer, and it's a cross-regional project. It's important to both Denver and to Colorado Springs. We do understand what a critical corridor it is, and she'll get into the details of the PEL study and the GAP project.
Thanks, Karen. Welcome, everyone. We appreciate you coming out tonight. I know it's cold out there, but we appreciate you braving the cold and coming out to our meeting. So what we have been accomplishing over this last year is we have really been looking at, we've been out before, we were out in April at our last public meeting, and we had really defined through the corridor from C470 to Monument is where we've been studying. It's this full corridor, it's not just the GAP project. And we've really defined the safety, mobility, and reliability needs that are needed along this corridor. We've evaluated over 100 alternatives. And we've done a lot of detailed engineering survey of the topography, the infrastructure that's out there, and the pavement conditions. And we've done a lot of environmental collection and have focused on a traffic model to define the volumes that are out there, kind of what we're expected to see develop along this corridor, and the travel patterns. And that's really helping us understand that this corridor is quite different than your standard commute corridor because the highest peak travel times through here are usually Thursday through Sunday. And so it's not your usual Monday through Friday peak hour commute times. We've also been working very closely with our resource agencies and our local agencies in really defining this project, looking at it, and understanding what we've got along the corridor. So what did we learn as we've been doing all this investigation and analysis. And we really, as Karen mentioned, we really noticed that the I-25 gap is our highest and urgent priority. The traffics, as Karen mentioned, have changed out here dramatically. And the improvements that we're looking at are really needed out here is adding that additional lane, and then widening the shoulders, providing some wildlife crossing. We have high accidents tied to wildlife crossing the interstate here. And then looking at better lighting and improved bus and freight operations. So to focus on this, we have extended our efforts on the PEL. Before, we were going to be done with our PEL a little earlier. That's our Planning and Environmental Linkage Study, which looked at the full corridor from C470 down to Monument. We're extending that deadline so that we could kind of stop on that right now to really get the GAP project out and to get it out quick. So when we came out and we've talked to everyone, some of the things we had heard is that we had asked, where do you think the most problems with travel occur in the corridor? And as you can see from the larger part of the pie chart, it was in the gap. We also heard that there were issues in Castle Rock, up by Lone Tree and Ridgegate, and then also Monument to Colorado Springs. But as you can see, it was quite obvious that our main focus needed to be the gap and be focused on that early. We also asked, what is the most important improvement for the gap? And as you can see here, our biggest one was add the additional lanes, add capacity. The next one was provide a more reliable trip. And that's important because that's really helped to define our project. And then also to improve safety, and then also for additional travel options. So that's kind of what we've been hearing as we came out with our earlier public meetings, what we were hearing from all of you. So we defined our purpose and need for the gap. And that purpose and need is to enhance the safety, reduce delays, and improve the reliability for travel on I-25 through our 18-mile bottleneck portion of I-25. The improvements are needed to improve the safety and reduce crashes, to enhance incident management and enforcement, and for our maintenance people to be able to move through the corridor, and to reduce the travel delays and improve the travel reliability. So right now, when we were back out in January, we had announced we were advancing a project down here to try to get it construction ready for this time in 2019. Well, now we've been looking at ways, how can we cut that back? We've seen the number of accidents, as Karen mentioned, every day has delays out here of about 40% at some point in time throughout the day. And so how could we advance that even sooner? So we've been working very closely with our Federal Highway Administration and trying to define how we can do this quicker. And so we will be ready for a construction project. In November of 2018, we will be under construction as long as we can secure all of the funds that we've identified for this project. So construction, if it starts in 2018, should be completed by the summer of 2021. So what we're moving forward with in the interim, so right now, I have in here interim solution. So this is really an interim solution. The PEL is going to look at what is the long-term needs out here, but this is an interim solution. We want to make improvements out here now, get the safety improved now, and so this is what this project's going to focus on. So the GAP is looking at 1 express lanes in each direction, both northbound and southbound, and looking at wider shoulders for safety and incident response, and reconstructing or rehabilitating some of the structures along this corridor. We may not be able to get to all of it within our budget, but we are looking at that and seeing what we can improve as we widen out this roadway. And then important to this corridor is building some wildlife crossings underneath the highway. We need to, with the numerous accidents we have with wildlife out here, it's really important to address that as part of our safety need along here. So some of you are likely wondering how we got to not adding a general purpose lane, but got to adding an express lane. When we came out, we did hear from people that they wanted an additional lane, but we also heard from other people that they wanted numerous, it's going to take more than 1 lane out here. And this is our first project, as I mentioned. We are looking at what that long-term solution is. This is our interim solution right now. And to meet the reliability needs out here, we feel that Express Lanes handles that the best, because we can't just build the lanes and build our way out of congestion. If you live up in the Denver area or drive through the Denver area where they built the T-Rex project, a general purpose lane was added there, and it's already over capacity now. It was over capacity in less than 10 years. So we are trying to make sure that we could provide that reliable trip until we can come in with an ultimate solution as to what we're identifying through the PEL. And it still provides a choice. The general purpose lanes will still be there. They'll still be free. People can still travel there. But if people want to pay and get a reliable trip and make sure they're going to have a reliable trip to wherever they need to be, then that option will also be there. We have used express lanes on other corridors. We've used them up on 36. We've used them on I25 north, and then they're even expanding that further north. We've used it on I-70. And what we're finding is that with an express lane, you take enough traffic out of the general purpose lanes that all the lanes flow better. So what this shows, and I'm going to explain this because I know it's kind of hard to understand, but and I'm hoping the colors are showing up well out there. It's not that well on the angle. What this is showing is across the top, you have two sets of information here. On your left side, you have the before condition, and on the right side is the after condition. And this is across all lanes of traffic. Down the left side, going up through the chart there, is kind of down through a corridor on I-70. And across the top is a time of day. So you can see how far the dark red goes across. That's how far during a day they saw heavy congestion all the time. That people were not, red means you're stuck in traffic, you're not moving. Once they added the express lanes, what's on the right side is actually showing you that all lanes of traffic are flowing better. They're not in congestion. So this is what we've been seeing throughout the state as we've been building express lanes, and we're finding that it helps to improve conditions across all lanes. So we also had heard from people about transit. They wanted to make sure we weren't forgetting transit and looking at different options. Beyond adding lanes and providing the reliable trip, the bus we have them on a couple corridors where we've added express lanes, and they have actually had to change their schedule times because they're moving through the corridor faster. So it provides them a more reliable trip for those that are using Bustang. Bustang has been along the corridor for a couple years now, and we've been seeing a steady increase in use of Bustang. And we've also got other private operators that utilize the corridor that will see better time travels throughout the corridor. We're also looking at improvements to the park and ride and monument. We're not sure if we'll include parts to this project, but we're looking at trying to provide easier access to that, easier access for the buses to get in the park and ride and get back onto the interstate. And then we're also looking at what options we can do at Castle Rock. There's a lot of ridership from Castle Rock and trying to provide a service for them. For freight operations was another area of big concern for the corridor, and we will see a great benefit with the wider shoulders, because when we do have an incident on the corridor or the weather gets bad and the truckers can't get up a hill or whatever, we'll have shoulders they can get over. Right now they kind of stop in traffic, so this will help the improvements along the corridor for freight also. So our schedule for our project right now is we are on a very aggressive schedule. If you've ever been involved or followed an environmental document, they usually take years, not months, and we are accomplishing this in a matter of months. We will have a decision document for the GAP project in June, or by June of 2018. We are looking at completing our design on this project in the summer of 2018, and then having a notice to proceed, having the contractor out there under construction in November next year if we can secure the funding. And to secure the funding, we've been working with our local partners to identify where those funds are going to come from for the project. And last month, El Paso County, in partnerships with CDOT and Douglas County, did submit for a federal grant for $65 million. We'll know in the springtime if we get that grant. But with that grant, the state has also committed, if we can get that grant funding, $250 million to the project. So the majority of the funds will come from the state, and that is through the Senate Bill 267, where we are actually mortgaging our buildings to get funding for transportation, because transportation funds just aren't there anymore. And then the locals have put $35 million that they've been committing to the project. So that's how right now we're trying to get this funding package together, and as long as we have that together, we will be under construction next November. We are looking to construct within the existing right-of-way. That is an important part because right-of-way does take time, but because we don't know for sure, I mean, we're on a fast track. We just kicked off design in the EA in October. We're on a fast track to try to have something ready because we have heard this is an urgent need. All the numbers show this is an urgent need, so we're trying to be ready. We have selected a construction method of construction manager general contractor, and we are looking at securing a contractor on this project by Christmas. And that's on a very fast track too. We've identified that because this allows them to be at the table through the design process, and then if the funds are there for construction, they get that chance to bid on the project first without opening it up for bids. And as long as we get in a good agreed upon price, then they move forward with the project. This allows us to, in case we are getting outside a right-of-way on a wildlife crossing or other things, it allows us to at least spin off early action projects or early packages for the project, for that ultimate project, ultimate but being for the interim solution, to get that corridor started under construction quicker and to be able to move without having everything completely cleared. So right now, that's what we're moving forward with. So tonight, all the information I've been talking about is on all the boards for you to look at. We've got experts at all the boards, so we ask that you please go talk to them, ask questions, get your answers, and then leave us comments. That's why we're here. We want to hear your comments. Please provide your comments. We've got the computers over here. So thanks for coming out tonight, and I guess go ahead and look at the boards.
It's an interesting meeting today by the Colorado Department of Transportation talking about our I25 gap project. I'm incredibly excited that we're getting this project moving forward in the direction that we are. And in particular, I think it was incredibly helpful that we were able to raise a bunch of money locally in order to get this project done. But I do have a concern that's been expressed to me by several of my constituents saying, look, we just put money towards this I-25 problem. Why are we going to have to now pay tolls on top of what we've already done? That is certainly a concern of mine. It's a concern we are going to be continuing to look at and work with as we move forward in the county.